It's time for connection of the mind, body, and emotions. Welcome to a place where you can unplug, tune in, and create. It's time for Conjuring the Human Spirit with your hosts, Allison Parr-Plasha and Sean McGuire Meeks. You're invited. Let's begin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Conjuring the Human Spirit. My name is Sean McGuire Meeks, and of course, I have the beautiful Allison Parr-Plasha sitting across from me.
Welcome. So glad that you've joined us again.
So I hope it's been a great week for you. We're glad to have you back. And Allison, what are we going to talk about today?
I often, contemplate this spiritual teaching. And if you're one of my clients, you hear me say it all the time, because I'm a big believer in love. And I think, love everybody. So this one spiritual teaching, and I'm unfortunately cannot share with kind of who the original author was, but love everybody, but some people you want to love at a distance. Sean and I were dialoguing about that this morning, and what does that mean? Like, how can we love people from a distance? How do we know when to love somebody from a distance? And we really kind of sparked a conversation around discernment and boundaries.
I think initially when we were talking about it, I'm like, well, boundaries is discernment, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, yes, it is. And so we said, let's get the dictionary out and let's take a look and see.
ChatGPT.
Gemini, much better than ChatGPT. So anyway, so we did ask Gemini. So the essence of it was really boundaries are like fences to protect yourself. Mm-hmm. And discernment is understanding where those fences should be. That land with you, Allison?
It does. It does land with me. And discernment is a word that I use often with myself, with my clients, of practicing, such a thing. So it's you are doing something, and rather than just kind of spontaneously doing something, it's more like you're slowing down and you're paying attention. And does this align with my moral code or my moral ethics?
And I always thought discernment was because my mother, she comes up a lot in this, interestingly enough, right? My mother would talk a lot about discernment. So I always equated it to a spiritual, religious way of looking at things. But when I dove deeper into the definition of it, it really is kind of both. It is using the mind, using what it is that we know in our experience in life, and it's also using our gut or our intuition to guide us. And I kind of went down a rabbit hole today too around what is the gut and why do we say gut? What is, and I thought that was such a benign way of saying spirit and, or the intuition. I thought that was, I think in a former episode, I was dismissing these executives who were unable to say the word spirit or unable to really use the word intuition and say gut. But the reality is that the gut is just full of all these senses and sensors and, our belly, they call it our second brain.
Yeah, we're learning more and more about it. I think, we haven't even tapped into the full power, obviously, of the brain, but also the gut.
And so that's discernment, using the gut, using the mind, using experiences to understand where the fences should be. Mm-hmm. So, and that could be a job. Is this job for me? Discerning whether or not you should take a job. And that's by doing even a pros and cons list. Like, here are the pros, here are the cons. And then the pros, how does that land? How does that resonate in the spirit of you? Is that something that works for you, or is it something that doesn't work for you?
Because there's something about, like, let's just say you are in a job interview and it just seems perfect on paper. So your mind is like, yeah, and oh my gosh, the salary is great. But like your gut is saying something doesn't feel right. I know this seems perfect, but something feels off.
That's discernment.
But like,
what do you do with that?
Well, quite a few of my clients, myself included, by the way, like, how often do we ignore that? And then we find ourselves in these harried situations where it's like, oh my gosh, this business is going down. my gut was right, but I was listening to my head, right?
We were out to dinner the other night with a group of friends. I've been with my husband for 30 years this year in October, and I've never heard him say this after all these years and all of my proddings. So we're out to dinner, and we're talking about discernment, though we didn't use the word discernment. Jeff says, yeah, what happens for me is this little, and he uses his hand, this little red flag goes up behind my head at the crown of my head.
That's so cool. I love
I'm
that
like,
visual.
what? I had no idea.
Yeah.
And that is discernment. He said, when the red flag goes up, look out. No, it's a no for me, boo. It's a no for me, dog, as they would say in American Idol. It's a no for me, dog, I found that fascinating. All these years, I didn't know that.
That is fascinating. And again, it's almost though, it's kind of like even when you bring up like American Idol, right? It's like, but it's like loving at a distance. You're not tearing that situation or that person apart, but it's just like not for me. So that's putting those fences in place. I've heard stop signs, the boundaries, putting those in place.
Yeah, boundaries is just such a juicy, I'll use your word, juicy word for me, because it's important for me that I live authentically in my life, no matter who I'm engaging with. And so I want to make sure that I love. I want to love. I want to love my neighbor. I want to love you. I want to love, and so I have learned how to work with boundaries, where to put the fences so that I can be in relationship authentically with everybody, and do it in a way in which is love.
Right, because it's like when we don't have the fences or we don't put up the stop signs, I think it can lead to resentment and then the opposite of love. So there's something about, so for example, we've had a very full week. Our daughter went to a leadership multicultural conference, and then Michael and I stayed about 40 minutes away, and we, had some really great meals, and we did lots of sightseeing. And then Michael had, a long time ago, signed us up for being volunteers for a jazz event last evening. Like at the beginning, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do it. I can handle it. It'll be great. Even though I leave for the farm the next morning at 7 a.m. and then leave for Erie, PA for a week, a few days later, driving, blah, blah, blah. But then as I took time and practiced discernment, I realized, what, like I'm on full. Like if I go to that will put me over the edge. And more than likely, I would probably take it out on poor Michael. So as soon as like the discernment felt solid, I just said, hey, I'm sorry, but I'm on full. And if I go, it's going to put me over the edge. He's like, no problem, no worries whatsoever.
Yeah, not everyone's full of grace like that, right?
Yeah.
So I think often when we speak our truth about what's needed, it's met with resistance.
Yeah.
And then we feel guilty, particularly women. Women say yes, yes.
Well,
yes.
And I felt guilty, even though he was not pressuring me. But there was something about wanting to please him. The people that are in charge of the event are lovely human beings, but it just would put me on empty. And I think it would have absolutely led to me then feeling resentment towards Michael, even though he didn't do anything wrong. And
it was really your inability to set and listen to that voice of discernment that said you need to not do that.
Yeah, exactly. So I put the boundary up and it was received with grace. He went out, he had a great time. I, laid back and watched The Handmaid's Tale and did laundry.
Oh God, what a
and I was all
relaxing
set though to be in the car at 7 a.m. this morning.
The Handmaid's Tale?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's a whole other story.
Oh God. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about boundaries. Boundaries are like the fences we put up to protect ourselves, and discernment is understanding where these fences should be. Mm-hmm. And then not making any apologies for it. So for me, it's authenticity is a core value of mine. So it's very important that when I'm in a relationship with someone, that I'm in an authentic relationship. And I want to be love. I want to be as godlike as I can and full of love. Everyone deserves that. Mm-hmm. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
You deserve love from me. And you get it. But in that, the fences sometimes are 40 acres away. Mm-hmm. And sometimes there aren't any fences.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend the other day, and she was talking about this pyramid of boundaries. The top of the pyramid is no fences, and the bottom of the pyramid, which is wide, is a fence that's 40 acres away.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but in doing that, I can genuinely be love for my neighbor, for my friend, for my fellow human. And so what I mean by that is once discernment has kicked in around where the boundary is for me, I don't then judge beyond that boundary. So I will be in relationship with someone to a point where I can love them. And sometimes that means they get a hand wave. That's it. And that's love. And sometimes they're in my hula hoop.
Yes.
And I can spend the entire week with them on vacation. And they're my good Judy, as we say in my community. That's really important.
Yeah, and I want to return to like loving people at a distance. Like who do you want to, like who are the type of people or situations where you would want to love at a distance?
Well, I think it's important for me. I mean, when you say that, it makes me say, I have to love you at a distance because you're a bad person or something like that.
Well,
and I don't
know if it's coming from this perspective of that person. I just remember like years ago, I met this lovely, beautiful, super intelligent woman. I really enjoyed being in the same space as her. And, she had a tremendous amount of money and, drove beautiful cars and always just had like the nicest fine outfits. But again, really enjoyed my time with her and really opened up a lot with this individual. They were a great listener. But like, as I got to know this individual more, I learned that the money was coming from suing people. And so there was just like this whole history of suing people and then kind of moving all over the place. And I just decided, when that kind of hit me, like, this is somebody that I want to love from a distance. Like, I think I need to be very cautious and conscientious about sharing too much with this individual because of their history and how they engaged in the world.
I just don't go on down that I mean, I hear you. I just don't go on down that road. So when people will, Maya Angelou says, people will show you who they are. And when they show you, believe them, because no one knows them better than they do. And so what I do is I listen all the time, no matter who I'm with. I shut my mouth and I listen. And people start to tell me who they are. And this is in the very beginning. I just listen. And there's this essence of things that I know. And it's not any different than what you're saying, I don't think. But this is what I do over here. Just really listen. And people tell me who they are. And I tell people I work with, just listen. Just your homework.
And that's what I was doing with this individual.
Stop.
Like I listened, right? As time unfolded, I was listening and seeing. But like, that's what I mean. But like, this is not somebody that you want to share your nitty gritty life with either.
And so you don't.
And
there's 8 billion people on the planet.
Judgment. Like I know this individual came from a lot of trauma and this was how that was getting played out. But it's like, this is not somebody you share your darkest inner secrets with. That's what I mean by like the discernment.
Allison and I are so excited to invite you to the Magic of Listening workshop here at the farm.
Woohoo!
Yeah, September 19th, 20th, 21st. It's an auspicious time because it is fall equinox. That is a time of letting go, of stepping into this new you that you want. So come to the Magic of Listening. You can stay here at the farm. We have accommodations, both cabins and in the main homestead. There's also hotels nearby. If you've got hotel points, there's Hilton and Marriott. The primary thing is we want you here. It's $600 for the weekend, plus your accommodations. Lunch and dinner are always included in the weekend. If you stay here at the farm, then breakfast is included too, and you are in for a treat.
Also, let's just get real. I'm so excited to meet all of you because each time we do an episode, I really feel like we are sitting down with all of you having a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or a drink of water. And so I just think it would be absolutely fun and fabulous.
To do it in real time.
Oh my gosh, and to sit side by side and to meet like-minded people really in this incredible space of intimacy and connectivity.
Okay, and that's here at the farm. That's Pinehurst, Georgia. That's central Georgia. That's just 2 hours south of Atlanta. There's actually a shuttle even from the airport that will carry you just 20 minutes from the farm. And once you get behind the gates, we'll close the gates and you won't go anywhere. You'll be snug as a bug in a rug here with us for the weekend. And it's limited availability, so book now, maximum 12 people. But if there's 13, we'll make room. Mm-hmm. So you're invited.
Absolutely.
Please join us.
Yes.
We'll see you in September.
Can't wait.
Before we bought the farm, we had a cabin at the best gay campground in these United States, Oz Campground. I really, really love it. I love what they're doing for our community. And, our community, the gay community, has really been broken in so many ways. From the AIDS crisis, from the ostracization of our people, pushed to the fringes, creating secret lives. And they often say, we're as sick as our secrets. And these men, many of them down the road have, just life was lifing on them. And many of them survived the AIDS crisis with HIV, subsequent addiction, character defects because of the addiction. And when I was down there, my mission was to be of service, to be a friend, to be part of the community, to love everyone. I really wanted to. And it was kind of like a petri dish to me because there were a lot of people that really tried to escape society and get behind those gates and just disappear. And so we really took it as almost like a ministry to love everyone and to really use it as like a petri dish to how can I really love everyone sincerely. Mm-hmm. And that's where I come up with these boundary settings around loving with a hand wave sincerely, mm-hmm. and loving and bringing them in because they're healthy.
Yeah.
So the discernment to know, because of the being plugged into my spirit, to be able to know what is good and what isn't, and what I ought to be around and what I ought not to be around, and loving them in all their mess, and mm-hmm. also protecting myself and still loving them as best I can.
Yeah, that's a great example.
From where I am.
Yeah.
There are a couple of relationships in my life where they always seem to end in chaos, over the years. And I've learned, particularly with family, and they just seem to end in chaos. And I don't want chaos, and mm-hmm. I don't want that for them, and I don't want that for me. And so I've set boundaries with them. And, I try to explain to them, though I don't know if they can hear it or receive it, that it's the boundary I've set is simply to protect my peace and to protect your peace. Mm-hmm. That doesn't make you a bad person.
Yes.
I'm not a bad person for setting a boundary, and you're not a bad person. I don't hate you, and I do anything for you, but I don't have to be in relationship with you, because when we're in relationship, then it ends in this big dramatic thing. I don't deserve that, and you don't deserve that. Let's tell the truth. Mm-hmm. Tell the truth about where we are. And so I'm loving them from the distance.
What's really beautiful is, I hear and feel the non-judgment coming from you when you talk about these situations, because it saddens me, estrangement is so pervasive right now. And we're in this cancel culture. So it's I don't like this family member, I'm just never going to talk to them again. That is very alive and present, sadly, in the family that I married into. I think there's generations of estrangement. But as a result, it's there's no love there. And I think, again, if we set boundaries, boundaries to me can save relationships. They can save marriages. They can save family relationships. But a lot of people just don't know how to set boundaries.
Yeah, and I think if it's done in love.
Yes.
That's the key, is really, doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't make me one. But again, back to, let's just tell the truth. Mm-hmm. Let's tell the truth. And long before cancel culture, my community was canceled
Yes.
and never even accepted. And I remember when I was out in California sitting in the beautiful magic of listening circles that they call council, and it was a men's group. And I was sitting with this group of men in an intimate way with the talking piece, and I had never sat with a group of men before in this way. And I was talking to them about that. When the talking piece came to me, I said, I've never sat in a group of men. And it was like, because the boundaries had been put up, I didn't create them. It was straight men afraid of me put up the boundaries and told me where I was allowed to go, how I was allowed to be there, how I was allowed to show up, and all of that. And so suddenly there I am in California sitting in this circle with a group of straight men, realizing for the first time on how these boundaries that I didn't accept had pushed my community to the fringes. And we're looked at as sexual beings. We're looked at as second class. We're looked at as not deserved of love. We're looked at. And this is the way the media was funneling us back then. They were protesting with the signs at our parades and all of that. And so we certainly internalized these boundaries that were set for me. I didn't even have that.
Yeah.
So then as a person, I've got to jump over those and say, that's not the boundary that's not a boundary. That's not who I am.
Yeah.
I know who I am. I'm an honorable man. So it's interesting when we talk about boundaries and how that's bubbled up. That story bubbled up around boundaries that were set by me that I felt, or for me,
Yep.
that I felt I had to abide by, both in my upbringing where there was only one God and that was the only way. And that was the boundary I had to abide by.
So what was it like for you to sit in that circle with men?
Scary, really frightening. Even when I got sober in a gay clubhouse because I couldn't be with straight people. I had just such scariness, but particularly men. And in that circle, it was scary at first. And then when they welcomed me, I felt like this huge love. And I felt like that fence had been removed, that boundary had been removed, at least for that evening. We love you. What are you talking about? We don't judge you. And so, yeah, I didn't consider when we were talking about this conversation and topic around boundaries that not only do we set them to protect ourselves, but I think even, my mother set them to protect herself from what she didn't understand.
Yeah.
And I don't, and it was done likely not malicious toward me, and people, I often say it took me my entire life into my 20s to figure out who I was, and then I expected her to understand right away,
Yeah.
and I think we do. She unfortunately never understood.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what do you think about that? I didn't even consider the boundaries that were set for
It's
you.
fascinating. You're getting like me to look in a whole new direction of just, like how bound. Yeah, I think like in our family of origin. And those are set, like you said, by parents or a parental figure to protect themselves. It's what they can handle. I mean, we're all like so unique.
Right, and it's their discernment, right? Based off of their experience.
Yeah.
Based off the spirit that was placed by them to say, no, I can't do that.
Yeah, and part of, I think, the discernment, as we're adults is what that boundary I was raised with. Like, does that serve me? Does that still serve me? Did it ever serve me? What do I want to carry forward? What do I want to leave behind?
Yeah, beautifully said.
I wasn't touched a whole lot growing up. I wasn't held, or my parents never snuggled with me. And so to this day, as much as I love to like touch people, like I notice like my body will kind of brace sometimes when somebody just comes up and just hugs me in a beautiful way. And like in my head, it's so welcome, but my body's like, what is this?
Like
This
an
is
internal boundary, a boundary.
and I'd love to release that boundary and be
yeah.
like, I don't want to be rigid, but it's almost like it's not what's normal.
Yeah, and for me, if I see you, I'm like, I'm a hugger. And they're like, oh crap, here comes Sean, he's a hugger. Okay, I'll hug you, I'll hug you too. But yeah. So that boundary that was not forced on you,
No.
but one that was created based off of life experience.
Well, and it's just like my mom, I'm sure wasn't touched, and my dad, I'm sure wasn't touched, and my grandmother, her mom passed away with her fifth child, and my grandmother was like all of 8, and then was in charge of raising these kids alongside her father, who was out working. So,
Well, yeah, right. At some time, there was survival.
right, so it just got
Back then.
passed on. So it's just something. I mean, I'm a huge snuggler with my family, my kids. I was just like, I don't want to repeat that pattern, but it's just something I watch and observe my body like responding.
We were so dependent on one another for so long for survival, just within our immediate family. I grew up in a very poor environment, so all we had was one another, and it wasn't until the world got bigger, and Phil Donahue and Oprah Winfrey, and we all started talking about feelings and boundaries and all of that we really even began to contemplate the idea of the ability to come out of the same womb, perhaps, and yet set a boundary that's loving so that the peace can be protected.
Yeah.
We no longer are really that interdependent on one another.
Well, it used to be just like we, right? Like that's how we survived, was
Yeah.
that kind of mentality of we.
Yeah.
And when I talked in a previous podcast, just like how I was raised, 6 of us all less than a year apart, my dad's out working, we were a we. And so, but now there's the I, and too much we is dangerous, too much I is dangerous. So it's like, how do we find that balance between
Right.
the I and the we? And I think that's ultimately boundaries,
Yeah, and it harkens back to even a previous episode, we were talking about technology and these algorithms. These algorithms are only interested in I.
Yeah.
They're not interested in we. They want to know what you want, and they're going to feed it to you.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous for us because even though someone may make me uncomfortable, that doesn't mean I have to set a boundary. I can be with someone who's different.
Yeah.
I don't have to set a boundary. That's how I grow. That's how I learn.
Absolutely.
And the discernment of the heart of someone is the most important thing.
Yeah.
You can be different, but are you a good person? You have a good heart. We may not be jiving on the same thing, but are you hurting anybody? And I think that, just to be accepting of one another in our differences.
Yeah. And listeners, you might be like, okay, so well, how do I do all this? I think, when I'm coaching clients and we're talking about discernment, I really encourage just the power of the pause. Somebody's like, hey, do you want to volunteer at this event, or do you want to do this, or can you join our group, or can you lead this? I know my past historical tendency would be like, sure. I mean, I'm just so honored somebody asked. But now it's like, can you pause for 24, 48 hours? And by the way, setting boundaries can be so kind. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm so honored that you asked and thought of me for this particular volunteer position. Let me just sit with this. Can I get back to you tomorrow? Can I get back to you at the end of the week? And then you can just think about it, be with it, ponder it, write about it, talk to somebody like Sean about it. You know what I mean? Like talk to a colleague about it.
Tell the truth.
Yeah.
Ultimately, just tell the truth, and whatever that truth is, say it in love.
Yeah.
And if it's not received in love, then it's not none of your business how it's received.
Yeah.
I give it in love. I'm sorry, I cannot be in relationship. I have to set a boundary.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't go to this event. I have to take care of myself.
I think, and if you do it the right way, yes, once in a blue moon, you're going to get maybe somebody who's resistant. But overall, I think if we do it out of this kindness, like it is received. At least that's been my experience.
Well, it's not been mine. And not to say that it hasn't been received in love.
Yeah.
But, everything's been, not everything, often it's been very cynical, very judgy, very, why don't you, why aren't you, why can't you, you're the brother, you're the uncle, you're the this is how you're supposed to be, this is what you're supposed to do, this is all of that. And one of the things I love about my dad, and we'll talk about my dad, Jack Meeks, in a future episode in our beautiful story of how we met, is that man is just so accepting. Like, I think I'll say, we'll have a date and I'll have to set a boundary or something has come up, and he's just so loving and kind. And I realized that the truth of what I just said, that people have been resistant, has been my truth, because I'm expecting him to resist.
Yeah. Okay.
And he doesn't.
Yeah.
And then I've got this relief. It's this like, oh, okay, I can tell my truth.
Yeah.
And not get pushback, because it is the truth. I'm not manipulating. I'm not just, and it's not received in that way, so.
You're right. Like it depends. It can not land.
And it can. You're right too.
It's just right. Like, it's just.
But what is my motive and what is my intention?
Yeah.
Those things only I know. I'm the only one that know my own motive and my own intention. And if they are true and full of love, and I set a boundary using the discernment of my spirit, and it's received in any other way other than love, that's none of my business.
Yeah.
Because it's done in love.
Yep.
At the end of the day, boundary setting is hard, whether it's done in love or whether it's done out of need and necessity, whatever. It's always hard. It's hard to do it. It's hard to be the recipient of it. So offer grace when a boundary is thrown at you, and set a boundary in grace, in love, and let go of how it's received, knowing that it's love. And God is love, right? So
right. And I mean, setting a boundary, I'm a firm believer, setting boundaries, even though it might not be received well, it can really save certain relationships. Yes, some might not, because maybe it's just not a healthy relationship, but it oftentimes can prevent us from feeling resentment towards people. So it can be a true gift, as hard as it is sometimes to set.
Okay, Allison, I'm going to set a boundary, and we're going to wrap this up for the week. I want to thank everyone for joining us. And I feel like you're sitting right next to us, and it means so much to us. And we hope to see you next week on Conjuring the Human Spirit.
We look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Conjuring the Human Spirit. You can connect with us and even make plans to work one-on-one with Sean at McGuireLife.com and with Allison at viespritcoaching.com. That's VIEESPRIT coaching.com, or tap the links provided in the description of this episode. Until next time, remember, you're not alone.